hackathon is you walk in with an idea and you walk out as a company fully funded, ready to develop and execute on whatever idea you have. Bring the idea to life is the topic, and a real life application of blockchain is the way to go there. All you have to do is go to our website and apply for the hackathon at www.tde.fi/BizThon, BIZTHON. We have 5 tracks available. Some of them are called, one of them is called CeFi/DeFi, and another one is social networks, along with 3 other topics that you can choose from. All of your qualifications, all the qualifications that you need as a person is to want to be an entrepreneur. To be an entrepreneur means to be able to formulate an idea and bringing it from the idea through the drawing board and the development onto developing a business, coding, everything that surrounds that. But that's not all. We are also preparing an airdrop. Airdrop normally includes tokens. We do it differently at TDeFi. We have decided that we're going to airdrop to you, the lucky winner, a Lamborghini Huracan. What do you have to do to win this Huracan? Well, you have to choose the winner of the whole hackathon, BizThon. And by doing so, by referring, setting up teams, basically like in a game of, never mind, I forgot that. So all we can say is, please join the hackathon. Fantasy sports was what I was going to say. Just like any fantasy sports game. See, we can cut that together a little bit nicer afterwards. All you have to do to win the Lamborghini is join as a referrer of the winner or the team, and a combination thereof. You'll get enough points, you win the Ferrari. So everybody, go register. The reason that I mentioned these tracks, the reason that I mentioned this process is because today we have with us Firdosh Sheikh, who's the CEO and founder of Drive. And we have with us today Donnie Kim, who's the co-founder and CEO of BTC Proxy. These 2 fine individuals have done what you guys are about to do, and they're going to tell us today about their journey from idea through development and creating a product. Both have excellent experience, and as it goes, we will let the ladies go first. So Firdosh, why don't you tell us about the journey for Drive and how you got to become an entrepreneur?
So my journey is not a very normal journey of, how you become an entrepreneur. Never thought of becoming one in my life, though. My story is more of a, a fairy tale kind of a story where one scary night, traveling with an Uber driver and, getting into a clueless conversation. Little did I know, my life was about to change. And when this driver asked me to cancel the trip and asked me to pay the fare, which is 10% less than what I was paying to the ride sharing company, I asked the very obvious question to the driver that anyone would have asked, like, why are you asking me to cancel the trip? And that took me on my journey to make Drive what it is. Obviously, when I started, I am not someone who come from technology background, and I guess that's a very big myth that everyone has, that you have to be from the industry or belong to the ecosystem to build something. And I myself is an example of, I knew nothing about technology. I'm a chartered accountant by profession, and when I started this journey, I had no idea of how to do this. And step by step, I picked up things of what I want to do, how I want to achieve that, gathering people, getting in touch with people who can actually understand the vision of what you're doing, because for a lot of reasons people started telling me that the whole idea of Drive is surreal, this is way too risky to implement. So hearing all of those questions, and I guess the most important thing in this whole journey of anybody who wants to achieve whatever in their life is having that courage to believe in that idea of what you want to achieve is very important. And that's what I did. I did not become an entrepreneur in in a overnight, but it took me 2 years to be who I am today. I'll tell you, this is basically a roller coaster ride. You never know tomorrow what kind of hurdles you will face, and every day is a learning. I always said that I would have never learned what I have learned in this journey if I was not an entrepreneur, not decided to do Drive. It's a difficult journey. It's not an easy journey. The only thing that you have to make sure that you should not be afraid of failure. There will be stages where you'll feel like, okay, this is not working at all, and that's the time where you don't have to give up. That's the time you give 10,000% from your side. So it is just not about the idea, it is more about executing the idea, finding the correct people who'll understand the idea, finding the people who can mentor you. My journey actually took a turn when I met the TDeFi team, last year, and when I met Gaurav from TDeFi as a co-founder, and that was again a clueless conversation started, and we started working together. And a lot of my credit of success goes to TDeFi team, who has helped me in this whole journey of what needs to be done and how it has to be done is very important, because a lot of people comes and gives you a lot of suggestion. It is very important to understand what's best for you, what's best for your idea, and implement that. Implementation, execution is a very important part of building anything, I'll say. So starting from this, they having a very vague idea of what I want to do, to then doing a successful idea, raising investment. I guess this journey keeps on going for long. It's a never ending journey. You can never claim that you have become successful in this journey, because every day you have to achieve a new milestone. So yeah, it's for everyone it's a different journey. For me it was more difficult because I never belonged here. I was doing something else in my life which was really good. I was doing really good, but then I decided one day, no, I want to build this whole project, because it became my mission, my life mission, to build what Drive is. And a lot of time, even my team started telling me, like, you have gone crazy about this idea of Drive, even because there comes a stage in your life during the idea stage that you feel like nothing is moving. Nothing is moving, and people start questioning you as well. And that's where you have to stick by it and work to achieve what you have decided. So yeah, that's very basic of what I did.
Excellent. We'll talk much more about the journey. Donnie, why don't you give us your story and the background for BTC Proxy?
Yeah, thank you, Henrik, for inviting me onto this webinar. So I come from a little bit of a different background. I'm from Canada, and my training is actually in the medical sciences, but I've actually left all those professions and that training to become an entrepreneur about 20 years ago. So I started my journey, I guess, exploring different things. And then about 4 years ago, I ran into crypto. And for those that are wanting to become entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship is, it's a very challenging and rewarding journey. But I can tell you that at some times it's, it's somewhat of a lonely journey, because when you're the one who's in the driver's seat and making all the decisions, you don't always have that support group that you, have when you're, with your other peers to sort of lean on. And so that's why something like TDeFi is a great resource, because they help the entrepreneurial journey and they sort of tap into what you need. But anyways, going about my journey going forward, we tried to launch about 2 years ago during the ICO and IEO boom era. And something about your project, I know most of you will have great ideas, and most of you guys will, have worked probably very hard to get there. But you have to really look at the product and see what I call, and what many other people call, it's called what's is termed product market fit. And in product market fit, you know you have something when the market sort of pulls the idea out of you faster than you can develop, or something connects with the market and you know that you have something. So when we tried to launch 2 years ago, we actually had a product. We thought it was good, but something sort of told us that it just didn't have the product market fit for it to go to market. And I think we were right about that. So we retooled and took it to where it is now. And we believe that we have something. So sort of fitting your idea and making sure that there is an actual market for it at the end of it, because the launch part is very exciting, and getting to that point of being listed and out there is great. But then the real work begins when you are trying to find real users for your network. And so having that product market fit, I think, is a key component. So yeah, that's sort of my take on entrepreneurship.
Yeah, you mentioned a few very interesting things here, and I'm sure, Firdosh, you've gone through it as well. You mentioned it as well. You are at a level of frustration and exhaustion often, right? You get to a point where you're like, where am I doing? What am I doing? Where am I going? What is this? What is this? So tell us a little bit, and tell these aspiring entrepreneurs that we have here, what kept you going? What made it work for you?
Yeah, okay.
Donnie, yeah, go on, Donnie.
No, she can go first. It's fine.
All right.
Okay, I'll go first then. So for me, from day one, when I decided that I want to do Drive, obviously I didn't know how to do it. And there were stages when you feel like, okay, this isn't working. For me to even start the journey, there was only one thing in my head, that if I don't do this today, someone else will do it tomorrow. And I don't want to be that person sitting back and regretting that I didn't have that enough courage, or I could not take that another step in this journey to build what I'm trying to build. So that kept me going all the time. And specifically, the whole idea of Drive was around the driver community and this situation they are into, the vicious circle they are stuck into, where they're not able to get enough earning, even though the companies who are running this platform are making billions of dollars. And that always had the question in my head that if the idea of technological disruption in the mobility space was to uplift the driver community, and now the ride hailing platform are multi-billion-dollar company, and if drivers are still struggling to make their livelihood, there is something which is broken, and that needs to be fixed. And if I have identified that problem, I should go ahead and solve it, no matter what. And that kept me going even today, when I speak with driver community and they show the kind of faith in what I'm trying to achieve, and they say, like, we are with you in this journey because you're trying to solve a problem that nobody else is paying attention to, is enough for me to keep going, even if at a time when there was no one supporting me, to a time when I have like 10,000 of drivers attached with Drive. That's something that keeps me going. The whole idea of that someone's life can be better if I do it in the correct manner.
So Don, for you, maybe not so many drivers involved with you, but a little bit more of a technical product. So when you're not dealing on that level, what is it that gives you the drive to move forward?
I think it's also what sorry, how do you Firdosh mentioned, was that a little bit of the regret factor. We all come from different backgrounds, and we all have our sort of our past. And when you look at entrepreneurship, you want to sort of create a future that you sort of envision, and not taking that chance is sort of one of the biggest regrets that I think that an entrepreneur may have. So taking that chance is one of the key driving factors, because you like as a business person, you're going to have a lot of opportunities presented to you, but as you get older and as you progress in stages of life, you only have certain, I guess, bullets in the chamber that you can actually fire. And as you time runs out, you'll have fewer and fewer left, especially because of the energy and time that you have to expend to put into that project. So you have to choose carefully and wisely. That's one of the things. But yeah, one of the factors is, you just want to make something of yourself with the time that you have.
Mm. And how did you find the process from idea to actually creating a team? How did you manage to figure out which people to hire, figure out where to go for funding? Did you both bootstrap your company in the beginning? How did that work?
So for me, when I had this idea, I went to my co-founder, who was also my colleague, and that's where we decided, okay, let's do this. But then obviously you need people, because both of you don't come from the tech background and you want to build a technical product. We started reaching out to people, in Telegram community, a different community. We started looking for people and started telling our idea, because for a fact we didn't have that kind of money to pay to someone, because
Right.
we were still in our jobs, and that's where obviously I know this is a risky idea, but if it works out, it's gonna change life for everyone who's involved in this process. We started picking up people who said that they really are interested in the idea of what Drife is, and not only interested because there's a money element attached to it, because this was going to be a long journey, and we knew it. We knew it for a fact that we won't get invested with an idea, because of the existing players in place. We knew for a fact that nobody's going to give us money. So we did bootstrap our product till late 2020. I guess 2021 was the time when we actually raised investment, but we built our team. We have people, and people who were working with us from day one. They are still with us, who didn't take any salary or anything, just building this product along with us, because they could feel the same as we did. So that, I think we were lucky in that aspect of getting people on board who could align with the idea of Drive. And then for me, it was before we actually raised the seed investment for Drive, it was like the last penny I had in my pocket, I spent it on Drive. So that's the level of bootstrap we went into building this project.
And Don, for you?
Yeah, so you're getting into blockchain and technological development and product development. You're going to need to build a team for sure. You'll need like a blockchain developer. You need somebody who's in the back end. You need somebody who knows front end. You need somebody who knows UI, testers. So I guess the best advice that I can give is like, these employees in the very beginning, when you're bootstrapping, they don't have to be on salary. You can sort of contract them out. And then you sort of develop a relationship as you're working under contract. And those that you have a good rapport with, and those that have like a genuine interest in your product, because a lot of them are probably doing work for other projects. You sort of develop that relationship, and you try to sort of keep them on after through other means. Obviously, to do that, you're going to need to raise money, and that's like an entire different subject. Right. But yes, technical team is really important, and just sort of working with them on a piecemeal basis until you get the funding, I think is probably a right way to go.
Exactly.
Have either of you gone through a hackathon route to promote your product?
No.
No, I can't say that.
No.
Interesting. So we speak, of course, from our point of view, we speak to a lot of projects that has gone the hackathon route. I tend to find that the hackathon route becomes very focused on what you're hackathoning for. And then it becomes projects that are within a specific narrow area, whereas the BizThon that we're hosting now is an open with 5 different tracks and all availability of a supporting network from the beginning. So I hope that we have created a new setup for a hackathon that works a little bit better for an entrepreneur, not the specific development of a specific narrow idea. Excellent. So Firdosh, speaking about testing, I seem to remember hearing a fun story from you about how the first testing that you did was also friends and family and cars. And why don't you talk to us a little bit about that, because that's a fun story. And just to give people an idea and an impression of what entrepreneurship is, and you really did it, right? You had people out there with 2 different apps and different phones and putting it in cars and moving around. So give us a little speed on that.
Yeah, so obviously, Drive becomes a complicated application because there are 2 different aspects of this application which has to work in sync with each other to actually test the application. There's a driver side of an application, there's a rider side of application. And when we said like, okay, when we are done with the development, now you have to test the application. I still remember day 1 of testing, sitting at Drive office in Bangalore, where like two of my employees working at Drive, took these 2 different phones, and they did, one was booking the taxi using Drive application, other become a driver. And then they actually left the office. They went through all around the city, and then they came back. That was the first testing we ever did, and we were so excited to see that the whole journey took place. The cars are moving in both the applications. You could see real-time movement of cars, because it's a difficult task to build something which has GPS. There's so much that goes on to build a ride-sharing application. That was the first testing we actually did, and slowly and gradually we started downloading Drive application to our friends and families, and started asking them, like, if you're going out anytime, make sure you're using 2 phones, one of your spouse phones and your phone, and make sure you're doing this. You become a driver, other person becomes a rider, and then you go and come back. That's the only 2-minute task that we give them, like, please do this for us. And we have like supportive community of friends and families who did that for us, and we keep doing that. Even now, like, whenever someone is going somewhere, we use this Drive application. One person becomes a driver, another becomes a rider, and we see the how the journey progress, because it is not a 1-minute process, a 2-minute process. It has to be like a half-an-hour journey you take, and then you end the ride. So it's an exciting process of like seeing something that you have built is actually working in real. So yeah, that's how we did. You just have to find like little hacks to make sure that you're not spending a lot of money to test your application or do things like what you want to achieve, because at the end of the day, when you don't have that kind of money, and for a fact that the outside world that you see, all the vendors, and for everyone it is, people ask a lot of money for very small tasks, because for a fact that this whole blockchain ecosystem has become so pricey. You have to find out ways to do things yourself, unless and until it is almost impossible for you to do it yourself. Else you'll end up spending so much money for a lot of things in this space.
Yeah, very cool. Don, how was your testing?
Yeah, my testing. So for those of you who are like trying to develop a product of your own, if you look at some of the best products out there, they are the best because they are so simple. They have the easiest to use interface. So you have to approach things from a user's perspective. And then when you're, the problem is here is that you need to approach your project from the point of view of the user, and think of servicing that person as simplistic and easy as possible. However, when you're working with developers on the backside, they don't think like that. You cannot let a developer who's working on the back end to dictate your front end. That's one of the biggest things that I think I've learned. Giving that UI portion to the backend developer will end up in one of the most complicated pieces of software that you're gonna encounter. So it's really important to approach it from the user's perspective. So yeah, so for testing, yeah, always that's how we do it.
Cool, very cool.
So I would like to add here, even with me, that was an experience because my whole team they are the tech people, and they have this one straight vision of what they are building. They don't think outside of that world, and they keep doing. They feel like, okay, this is what it is. They build things in that way. And in my team, I was the only person who brings the outside perspective. And every time I was looking at the application, and I used to reject a lot of the design principles, saying that if I as a rider won't use this application, I will not let this out. So you have to think from the customer's perspective every time you look at the application and see like, okay, if you can't use it as a customer, nobody else will use it. So that's something you have to keep checking, every time you're looking at your application.
Yeah. And then maybe sort of, because we are blockchain oriented here, maybe you can tell us a little bit about the whole process on sort of the fundraising business side, entrepreneur side, because raising money by selling tokens is a very specific procedure. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about how it was to get a coin or a token listed on an exchange and what that process was like.
So obviously, we went with the three process. One, first, you divide the whole tokenomics with the token sale, how much you want to raise, at what valuation. Those are the things that you need to take care of, making sure that whatever you're trying to do at that particular time matches with the market condition. I remember doing token sale when the market was very bullish. As soon as we completed the fundraising, the market sentiments changed and people started questioning on the valuation that you had at the point of time when you were raising funds. So those are the things that you need to consider while you're raising funds. Look at the market condition, look at how much others are raising in the same genre. How what is the valuation, because most of the investor looks at all the project from the same eye view. For them every project is the same. Most of them don't see that it has a different application altogether, so they won't look at it like that. They say, like, on an average in the industry the valuation of project is 10 million, how can yours be 20 million? So that is something you have to very specifically look what others are doing at that particular time in the market, and then you go ahead and do the fundraising. We went ahead with 3 different rounds. One was seed, private, and then public sale, and then got our token listed. Very important aspect of raising investment is your story. For me, it was the story that I was selling of why Drive, which actually helped me, because Drive is not a very crypto project. It's not a 100% crypto project. It has a real world implication where it gets really tough to actually speak with investor and convince them how this real world project is linked with this token that I'm trying to sell, and how this token value is going to get impacted when the actual operation runs. So your story should be very powerful. You should know what you're trying to sell to the investor. You need to make sure that what is happening in the market, you have to keep yourself updated with all the launch pads and everything that's going on. And yes, seed and private round becomes very easy once you get your story right. Then you get one investor, and that other investor gets you more investors. That's how it works in this industry. As soon as you have like 2 or 3 investors in place, it will be easy for you to close the round, because they tend to bring more investors and other investors. It is very important for you to understand whom are you giving allocation to, how are they going to benefit you, apart from the fact that they are giving you money, because there are a lot of people who will start giving you money once you have 2 investors in place. So that's something that you need to be very clear about. About the listing, yes, we went with both the listing, decentralized exchange listing and centralized exchange listing on day one. It's a very tricky thing to do. It can backfire on you as well. And there are a lot of things that we saw, because the Drive is the only project I've done. Drive is my first project. So there's a lot of aspect to it that you have to make sure that you're ready for if something goes wrong, because you don't know actually how market is gonna react as soon as you are publicly listed. I'll say, a lot of advisors and investors come on board and tell you what to do this, do that. Nobody tells you what not to do.
Right.
So that's very important to understand what is that you should not do at that point of time. And even if something goes wrong in this process, you should not run away. You should have that courage again to come back and, on the face of it, tell, okay, this is something which has gone wrong, and we are working to resolve it. Facing your challenges, facing everything that goes wrong is very important in this journey, because the community is in this way where they can question you in just few minutes. They start questioning everything and anything about you in just few minutes if something goes wrong. So you have to be prepared for the worst and give your best. And obviously, as I said, like, look at what's going in the market. It's very important to see if all the projects at that point are doing like 5 or 6 IDOs at the point, maybe at that point it makes sense. If everybody's going with one IDO, go ahead and do that. Look at market condition, look at market dynamics. It is very important, because this whole ecosystem runs with one particular set of mind. That's how it works. So that's very important when it comes to raising investment. You just have to get things right. And specifically, I said, your story is very important.
Yeah. Don, what was your path?
Yeah, so I think that Firdosh touched on a lot of those important topics. So I'm just going to touch on one. And, aside from getting all the background and the tokenomics and, your plan together, I guess working remotely and having things done online because of the environmental situation has really changed the way that you approach investors. And so people who are entrepreneurs who are more technical, they're not going to be so comfortable getting in front of the camera and making a pitch, but nothing is more powerful than the actual founder with the idea that's making the pitch, doing the actual talking with the investor. It has to sort of resonate. And my sort of advice is, for me, I read a couple of books because I'm not naturally a presenter, by a gentleman called Orrin Claff. And in this book, he sort of lays out the actual psychology of what happens during a pitch. I think the book was called either Flip the Script or Pitch Anything. And this guy's raised millions and millions and that's all he does, is just go into boardrooms during that time and pitch to like the hardest investors that you can probably see. And that's what it's going to be like for an entrepreneur, because you're going to have to go in front of these investors and showcase your idea. And there's actual science behind how to make your delivery in order to, I guess, command the most attention and get the message across, saying the few words as possible. And so I suggest picking up a few books and understanding how to make the pitch, because that moment could be make or break for your project. Right.
All right, guys. Listen, it's been really interesting. It doesn't look like we have any questions from the attendees, so I'm guessing we've covered ground pretty well here. Firdosh and Donnie, thank you so much. If you have any final comments, please feel free to say them now. And if not, then yeah, go on.
Yeah, I guess this is for everyone who's participating in the hackathon and trying to build something on their own. I like to say, like, concept like BizThon is very rare that you can be part of.
Mhm.
I have been working with TDeFi team. They've been mentoring me for a long time now, and this is the best mentors that you can get to train you. And if you can be a part of this, you're really gonna grow in your journey. Henrik, you have known me from day one to my journey of how I have evolved in this months of
Mhm.
building Drive. So it's very
Yeah.
important to have those mentors in place who tell you how to do things and how not to do things. So this is the best platform to be part of. That's what I want to say.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Don, thank you.
Thank
Firdosh,
you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.